Hey everyone, hopefully having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel is Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We'll take a look at the whole gamut of commodities and the overall stock market, and I'll give you my financial opinion. So let's dive in. Let's see what the heck's going on. And here we go. So I'm going to start with the VIX this time. This is the volatility S&P 500 index. We've broken the downtrend line. We are popping higher. What that means is we usually see this volatility go up as stocks decline, usually. And we're seeing the stock market decline overall. So the dollar's been really strong here. We are back up against that resistance line again. There's that resistance line. We used it as support back here, hit it a couple times coming up, and now we're hitting it again. Is this going to break out to the upside where the DXY, the dollar, is going to be stronger against other currencies? I think that's probably going to be the case given the problems that are going on with energy and all of the other crises that Europe is going through. So it is a possibility. We've got kind of an anomaly or an energy crisis global scale that's never happened before. And the dollar could be something that people are running to as other currencies encounter problems. So the dollar is increasing here. We've got the 10-year yield also increasing. This is, I think, an inflationary environment. And what we're going to see is a divergence of the 10-year yield to what we would normally have seen in past history with we'll call it weaker markets or markets that are declining. So we're seeing that the 10-year yield is increasing, which is inflation in the dollar. The DXY is going higher because the other currencies are just have worse inflation. And this is putting pressure, the 10-year yield is putting pressure on the markets to go lower. So we've got a lot of problems in the market. I think they're energy driven. We've got the 10-year yield going higher. I noticed that we've got the 30-year yield also going higher and breaking out of this kind of pattern here, heading higher, which is also broken out of a long-term downtrend line, and we're starting to jet higher here. So yields are starting to go higher across the board. We look at commodities. Commodities have been relatively stable in this pullback of the stocks the past couple of days. So commodities have been stable and moving higher. We've got gold. It's selling off. The DXY on top of the 10-year yield going up. Not a great mix, but I do think, we're right at support. And I'm hoping this support line holds. It's the white line there. Logarithmically speaking, it's this guy here. And that all converges at about $1,700 is where all that converges to. Silver is also pulling back. We're coming back here. Support is around 1815 or so, maybe slightly higher than that, 1840. It is coming back, and this is a good spot to be looking if you like precious metals. Platinum's also pulling back. We've had some larger selling pressure days. I would wait for this to turn around, get a couple of up days to slow this movement down. It's been kind of heading lower with some momentum behind it. We're right at this support line coming down here. We've got another support line at about $850. And this thing has given us multiple opportunities to accumulate, which I highly like. Look at the XAU to gold ratio. That ratio is still incredibly cheap. We gap lower in the morning. We came back up. We're right on this support level. It's not a very large support level, but it's a small one. Big picture view, though, we have not broken out of this downtrend yet. We are still below the downtrend. I say that it needs to break this line for happiness for, we'll call it gold and silver mining companies. So we're still heading lower there. GDX, we're basically flat today. We're right on support. We'll see if that support holds. We are at very low levels in the mining companies. And if you're a true contrarian, now's the time to test that contrarian right now. This is very low. SILJ is also very low. And this is where, if you've got the cojones and you really like gold and silver, this would be a spot to be looking at it because we're right on support. And we've broken the downtrend line here. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But it looks good down here. Looking at crude oil, miraculously, we had a very volatile day today. Large sell-off early in the morning. And I don't know how this worked, but we actually ended basically flat to slightly higher. That resistance line, or support line, I should say, the support line that we've drawn in there is acting as support. There's the line going up right there as support. You zoom in on the weeklies. There is that line. And we're riding that line right now. Now, we have to see if we can hold on to this. If it breaks lower, what I'm going to say is you're going to get a lot better buying opportunity for the companies in oil and possibly natural gas, because sometimes the natural gas companies trade with oil sometimes not. But oil's flat. We'll see if this trend line holds. I'd like to see a close above 95 to get this, $96 at a closing price would be a nice number to turn this thing around. Natural gas heading higher today. We're breaking out of this resistance line. We've got a little wick at the top, not too bad. It finished quite strong. If natural gas carries this momentum forward, gets a couple of closings above this trend line, I think we're heading higher. But we got to keep that momentum up. We don't want to come right back down into the pattern immediately. So that's one to be watching. XOP, yeah, you know me, throwing in the hammer candlestick. This is almost a bullish engulfing. It's not quite. You could call it a bullish piercing, but had a little bit of a fake out in the morning and then reversed throughout the day. It's actually ended quite strong and looks good still. Coming on down, looking at the energy service companies, it was slightly lower. We're in this congestion period. If I were to throw anything on it, you've got a kind of a resistance area there, and we've got higher lows stepping up into it. So we're squeezing up here, and we'll see if we can break to the upside here. Bigger picture view, we have had these little kind of islands, we'll call it, of support, and it's making these higher lows with higher highs. That's in an uptrend. And we've got the next big, we'll call it the big cojones there, is this big trend line that we have to break. We hit it, we hit our head and bounce back below it. Now we're going to try to kind of loop it back up and break through it. So energy service companies look quite good. Definitely a spot that I'd be looking at this time. Scrolling down to uranium. So the uranium futures price is at $48, and we're just still squeezing up. We've seen a lot of sideways action. If you can see this, we're squeezing and just moving sideways at around $48. That is the dead period. The dead period is where the buyers equal the sellers, and it just kind of everything is calm before the move. Looking at Sprott, and I think it will break to the upside. Looking at the Sprott Uranium Physical Trust, we are moving sideways right at support. This is a good spot to be looking. Good spot to be looking. Uranium also looks like we're right on the support. It looks like it's holding up. I'd like to see tomorrow show me some strength. You know how Jerry Maguire says, Jerry Maguire, show me the money. I want to see, show me the support line. Show me the support. And if it shows me the support, that's when I'll be a buyer. Looking at CCJ, CCJ is also coming up to that support line. We are contracting in the opening and closing price. We have a small up day. I think we're going to start to try to turn here. The overall markets could drag us lower, though. We were dragged today, and some of these are basically holding their ground. Basically a flat day overall for the URNM. So that's actually a strong showing for uranium in relationship to the chaos that's happening around us, so to speak. Looking at TAN, this is a solar ETF. Again, we were lower today. Overall markets were lower, but this still looks good on a longer term perspective. We've got that bloody nose. In the back of my head, we still could maybe do a retest down here before heading higher. But that's the solar area. COPX, another ETF, the copper ETF. Looking at the dailies, we've broken the downtrend. We're kind of just drifting higher. Not a huge down day today. We're down a little bit, 1.37. The overall markets were down. A little bit of scared people in the markets, and it's held up decently well in relationship to some of the other sell-offs. When comparing the CRB index in relationship to the S&P 500, commodities look very strong in that relationship, and they are moving higher. They look all really strong here. We're laying down some fat candlesticks, and it looks like the commodities are definitely going to outperform the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is moving down while the CRB index is moving higher. Rare earth metals trying to find its footing here. I would say this is pretty much a win when looking at it against the S&P 500 because it was down today. So it was basically flat. And then we've got lithium, global lithium battery ETF. That thing's holding steady as well. Basically a sideways day to day at up 1.5%. And it's trying to hold its own here. The S&P 500, a little bit of a kick to the nuts, heading lower here. This doesn't look good. With the way this thing closed, the increasing interest rate environment, I think we're going to head lower still. It does not look good. And same with the U.S. composite index. It is also getting smoked to the downside. To me, these things don't look healthy for a move higher. They look weak, and they, I think, will eventually continue lower, but just like they are. So that's what I see in the markets there. XHB also heading lower with the overall markets. This one looks a lot better. We've got the downtrend break. It is getting pulled lower with the overall markets, but we'll have to watch and see what this thing does. This could be an A, B, C correction where we go ahead a little bit lower. Lumber is heading lower. That we've got another support line at 380. This is actually a good thing if you want to buy a house. Let the input costs go down. Looking at cocoa futures still moving sideways, still looks good in my book. Wheat heading higher. That looks a little bit stronger. We were right at support. Soybeans is also looking stronger, putting in a bullish engulfing. I talked with some of the members about the green candlesticks and the size of them. This is looking a lot better here. And then corn is also looking like it's trying to firm up a little bit in this sideways channel that it's trading in. Copper got dragged down a teeny bit. Not a huge sell-off in copper. Everything still looks intact at this time. And we're just moving sideways. Looking at Mu. Mu is slightly lower with momentum heading a little bit higher. We're still above the downtrend line. Everything's still intact here. I don't see the big sell-off candlesticks like these guys over here. This is usually the beginning of a larger move lower. And I think that hopefully that's over with. That large move over, and we're starting to go into an uptrend. Aluminum, also, it's kind of entering that dead period where we move sideways for a little bit and consolidate. I think the buyers are equaling the sellers, and that will eventually turn at some point. And then looking at the Baltic Dry Index, the dailies here, down 3.11%. China's pretty weak right now. There's a lot of worries over China, and the Baltic Dry Index is seeing those worries. It's been heading lower here recently. So that's what I've got for today on the update. If you guys are interested in signing up on the website below, the Platinum membership, we talked a lot about some of the companies that I liked. They were up today, surprisingly, in the face of this weakness. And the Platinum membership will get you all that information. If you guys like the channel and the content, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.